I was in the living room and you came downstairs and you're like, God, we kicked their ass. That was amazing.
Welcome to My God Up Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 2023 season. We talk about what stood out to us, a few current events, and we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at OxiaTime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. All right, the podcast before the podcast. The conversation in progress was too off the rails and we had to start.
We have decided that we need a breakfast episode.
My podcast, the breakfast episode coming this summer, maybe.
Oh man, coaches over unders on that one would be interesting.
Seriously. Well, the season is over. We're coming in, a week-ish late. We had some more illness in the podcast. Punted a week. That and I know I was limited. I could only do like Monday or Tuesday last week. Had the anniversary last week. So
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
It looked like it was fun.
It was. We had a good time. We went out for drinks like the day before or the weekend. Couple of days early. We did like an early, just kind of afternoon out at a whiskey bar that we had never been to. It was pretty fun. So that was cool. Did that. But then our actual anniversary just went out to dinner at a new favorite spot of ours around here in Concord. So it was a good time. 20 years. Pretty crazy.
Man, I'll drink to that, dude. Marriage is hard. It's not normal to be married for that long, I feel like, in this day and age. So cheers.
Cheers. I gotta pour my bourbon and then I'll cheers back to you. So we realized, and I know I texted you this, or I think I did, that Kim and I are now like, we're older, or we're the same age as like her parents were when she and I started dating, which is crazy.
So old.
How do we get so old? I don't know. How does it go? It goes so fast. Well, what did you cheers me with? What do you got over there?
Oh, since we're wrapping up the season, I figured I'd wrap it all up in the elite bourbon, my infinity bottle. Which basically, like, I feel like that if you go back and look at the YouTube video, I feel like that my bottle has always been half full.
It's how you look at life.
Which is probably my perspective on the season.
I like it. Man, I'm regretting not pulling mine. That's what I was gonna grab. And then I opened up the cabinet and I was like, is there anything in here that I haven't opened? I know you make fun of me. Which I actually saw a bourbon meme the other day. It was like there's two kinds of people with bourbon, like the one who opens everything and the ones who like save things. And I was like, oh, that's this podcast. Like you just open everything and I'm like never open anything. So I've got the Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit single barrel.
Kentucky Spirit. What's that one look like?
It's like that. So I've never had it.
I feel like that's a special one.
It's a single barrel.
What's the price on that?
I couldn't tell you. I bought this so long ago. The funny thing is I bought it and then I bought it again, not realizing that I had already bought it. Like I had a surprise reaction to seeing it twice. I think about 6 months apart.
I've never seen that one.
I heard somebody was talking about it on Twitter
at some point.
That's like
a $70 price point, which is, that's pretty decent right there. It's fancier than Rare Breed.
It is.
Yeah. You have to let me know. I don't know that I've ever had that one. So
it's good. I just had my first sip. It's very good.
Excellent.
101,
I could never
proof,
just let a bottle like that just sit in the thing. I'd have to at least try it.
The funny thing is that I opened up. Like I opened up the cabinet. I was like, what's in here that I haven't opened? And I was like, ooh, I forgot I had this. I have like my regulars that I just drink like all the time when I rebuy them, and then when I find like random things like this, I let them sit there, and then I forget.
Such is the life of a hoarder.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Kim is. I was wanting to do like a new bourbon cabinet, and Kim was like, "Why do you need another bourbon cabinet?" So, well, I guess that's a good question.
You should
So,
just I feel like you need to be like one of those guys that's on Facebook that builds a bourbon a bourbon cabinet out of a barrel of bourbon, like an
that would
empty
be cool.
barrel.
I'm telling you, man, I love that cabinet that your guy Bourbon finds that he posted, where like the
Yes.
door opens up and then so you can have it in the doors and then in the cabinet. One of those. That's what I want. That I basically I had like a 2 week obsession after he posted that video on Instagram, um, where
You're
like I
like,
was constantly trying to find it, one just like it. So I don't know. We'll see.
I asked him and he was like, yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, horrible answer. I found some, but they didn't look at like because that would look nice. I found some online, but they didn't look like the same quality of his. So you got to keep chopping. I'll find one eventually.
This is gonna be one of those what is it? Wood projects.
Dogwood
Dogwood,
Nation.
a dogwood project.
Hey, yeah. I mean, I haven't built anything since I built my desk. It's been about a year. Maybe it's about time for a new project. So, oh man. Well, it was what do you think about this season, John? I mean, we didn't get the three-peat,
We didn't
but
get the three-peat. Michigan has yet to relinquish the reins of their national championship.
mm,
I'd say that the season, I don't know. I was just trying to go through this in I've listened to part of being late on the podcast. We get to listen to some of the other our colleagues post their takes, and so
true.
um, I don't know. I feel like that if you were to look at some of the statistical leaders, like the fact that Brock Bowers was the leading receiver, even though he missed, so many games.
Mm, yeah.
That was a little surprising, I guess. I was hoping that there would be someone that would step up to kind of take the reins on that. Um, if I would have told you before the season that Carson Beck was going to throw for nearly 4,000 yards, I think that we would have all taken that. I mean, I did not expect him to perform at the level that he did. The offense, I feel like, was the superstar of this season, whereas in the past it's been the defense that had led. Um,
Yeah.
or we were kind of known for our defense, right? And so it was nice to see Carson kind of take the banner that he kind of came in with and live up to it, I guess, for lack of a better description. Because we
Yeah.
always he was such a highly ranked recruit. I mean, coming in, and so it was just kind of one of those like, oh yeah, it's just another one of those quarterbacks that went to Georgia and never really panned out. And you know, I was skeptical before the season, man. Like, I think if we're gonna go back and look at some of these things, like go back to some of the seasons past, like, man, he did not look like it. I was not confident at all.
I was gonna
But
say, like even early in the season, like I'll make fun of myself. Like early in the season, like still wasn't sure, like I wasn't sold. And then it was like I think you kind of got me around, like Jim, like what are you talking about? When it was like whatever the stat was that he was like, every game it was over 250 yards passing or whatever, that stat that took forever for him not to hit. Um, I mean, one of the better first time starters we've ever seen. I mean, what a season he had. And I don't know what like looking back, I'm trying to like think to myself of like what it was that was going on. And I don't know. I guess like it was, we had just gotten so used to Stetson and he was very not Stetson, right? Um, but that's okay. I mean, everyone has their own thing. I don't know. I think some of it too, I do feel like he like loosened up as the season went on too, just from like demeanor. and even like celebrating first downs and things like that. Like I think
Yeah.
early on,
He
he was
became
almost
giffable.
he did right exactly exactly. It's a great way to say it. So yeah, but early in the season he wasn't. He was very like calm, collected, like reserved, and I feel like that kind of changed throughout the season. So I don't know what to read into that, if anything, but he really led this team. And I'm excited to have him back next year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I'd have told you, I mean, he was, I mean, he was like 60 yards short, right? So he had just under 4,000 yards passing. If I were to tell you before the season that Carson Beck would be just under 4,000 yards passing and he would complete 72% of his passes, have a quarterback rating of 167, 168, um, he would throw 6 interceptions. He would
Yeah,
only get sacked 11 times
yeah,
and he would have 24 touchdowns. Like, I mean, that's a stat line that I feel like that we would absolutely have signed up for before the season.
yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
Tyke Smith, we finally got to see, fully healthy Tyke Smith on the defensive side.
Yeah.
I would say that, one of those one area that I guess that we were kind of, I feel like that we probably would have been expecting was that Kendall Milton would have been a much bigger factor in the offense, but Dejon Edwards led the offense. He had
Mhm.
880 yards rushing or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, he he was the leader here, and if you were to combine those two together, that would have been a heck of a season for a running back, right?
Yeah. They have like
Um,
1,500 yards, 1,600 yards, and 27 touchdowns between them. So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, they were truly like if you look at like statistically, like the two-headed monster kind of thing, like 1A and 1B, which is what Georgia has had, going back to Chubb and Michelle, probably even further than that. But like, shoot, De Gershel, right? Like,
Hmm.
having that kind of like 1A and 1B guys. And, but they were back and forth with the injury stuff. I will say, like, I'm happy that we got to see like a fully operational, fully healthy Kendall Milton by the end of the season. I mean, obviously, like we went undefeated in the regular season, so I don't know what materially the difference would have been, but statistically, I mean, he looked like 1,000 yard back, like by the end of the year, when he was back to his old self. It was
Hmm.
almost like back to like freshman Kendall Milton, like we saw what he flashed early on. We finally got to see it back once he was truly healthy.
Yep, I agree. Um, yeah, I would say that if you were to go and look at so the other thing that I would say is that you go and look at some of the receivers. I mean, you
Mhm.
just go down the line talking about combining, Kendall Milton and Dejon Edwards. But if you go and look at the receiving side of things, like, I mean, we talk about Brock Bowers, right? So Brock
Mhm.
had, just over 700 yards receiving, right? So Brock was Brock, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at how like so unbelievably spread out everything was. I mean, you had Dominic Love at 600 yards, Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint 500, Lad McConkey had 500, and he missed a bunch of time.
Yeah.
Ra missed some time, and he had 300. Like everybody, I mean, you go down the list. I mean, the list of receptions, it was pretty phenomenal as well. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, there were a lot of guys that had more than 10 catches throughout the entirety of the season, which I feel like is a lot for, I don't have anything to compare it to for on the Georgia side of things, but I mean, it felt like that we spread the ball around pretty well. It's funny, we were talking about this in the text thread, that before we got on the call as of recording, one of the elite wide receivers from Florida State had decommitted, and the early chatter was that he wasn't looking at Georgia, and I'm just kind of like, why? What do we have to do? What do we have to do to like eliminate this narrative that Georgia's not the place for elite wide receivers? Like, do we just need to like consolidate the receptions here and not rotate guys in and out
Right.
and just allow one receiver to have 1,500 yards receiving. Like, what do we have to do?
Right. And so that's actually something that Jeff Dantzler has talked about a bit, like with our receivers, like the volume, the rotation, and going that deep. I know he's talked about that on Bulldog Brunch about basically wishing we didn't rotate so much, like kind of having a guy, like the guy or the couple of guys. I mean, if you think back to like when we were in school late, right? Like Fred Gibson, Reggie Brown kind of thing, like
Hmm.
haven't or we were talking about in the thread, right? Like Wims and Godwin early in the Kirby years. So I don't know. I don't know. I think some of that is like the wide receiver coach, and they kind of handle the rotation. So I don't know if it's a
I mean,
McClendon thing or
I'll
what.
tell you what I think it is. I
Hmm.
mean, for us, it's you've got to get these guys on the field. You've attracted these players, you've attracted
Yeah.
these recruits. You've got to find receptions for kids. It's the NIL situation. We're able
Recruiting
to
your
try.
own, re-recruiting your own roster to get them to stay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's definitely something. It's an interesting problem for us to have. Like you look down the list of all these guys that are on our roster. I was thinking about that after we were chattering about this, with the wide receiver situation. Like, what do we have to do? But you look down the list, and a lot of these guys are coming back.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like we've got guys that didn't get featured all that much that looked pretty talented. You've got an Anthony Evans coming in. You've got Lawson Lucky, who was injured for a good portion of the season. I think that he's going to slot in pretty nicely for Brock Bowers. Everybody's talking about um, how are we going to do that? And obviously Oscar Delp was going to be there. Delp a brother out, right? But I actually think that Lawson Lucky is going to be I mean, that kid is humongous.
Yeah. 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 Yes.
Um, but yeah, I mean, so we got all these players that are still going to be around. You got Dylan Bell, you got Robert Thomas, you got Dominic Lovett,
Yeah.
we've got CJ Smith, we've got
I don't think we do anymore. Didn't he? I think CJ Smith to the portal.
was he the portal guy?
One of we had a few, which we didn't do the full rundown. Had we already talked? We had because that was before the bowl game. Was say farewell to the unofficial official Mr. Muse into the portal. So
Where did he end up going?
all right, I'm blanking. Wasn't it like Houston or something? Am I
I think you're right.
I think that's it.
Yeah, because they did him wrong by
Oh,
giving him that cowboy hat.
he had the cowboy hat. That's right. That's right.
It was like they found him like a black cowboy hat that was like a few sizes too small, I feel like.
Oh man.
I'm not a big cowboy hat aficionado, but
Sure, sure, sure.
I know enough about the cowboy hats to know that he looked undersized,
Right, right.
even for his undersized stature.
Uh, yeah. I guess I'm just kind of going like, I know like we wanted the three-peat, um, but we made a New Year's Six bowl, destroyed an undefeated ACC champ in that bowl. Um, I know what well, actually we had a question of what's the biggest disappointment. So, I won't go there, but
We were the victims of our own success in many ways.
yeah, yeah,
And we were the victims of improper timing for that as well.
yeah.
Um, there were
Maybe you
just
had,
one there were just one too many or two too many teams that were deserving, and that would be one of those things that I feel like that the CFP keeps tripping over themselves talking about the most deserving and best, and you know
yeah. It makes
we
they're
just
making it up as they go along.
yeah, which
So
I feel like was partially by design because they want everybody to be excited about the 12 team playoff, because
yeah,
what happened this year is not an issue next year.
exactly. The argument will still happen because it's going to be about like 12 or it won't be the 12 seed because the 12 seed is going to be some conference champion that wouldn't have been in the playoff at any rate. But like it's going to be like, that 10 seed or something like that, 10 and 11, who should have been those last teams in. But, those teams are going to have less of an argument than, say, Georgia this year. Right.
Hmm.
So, yeah, no, that's my conspiracy theory is they that they wanted to have some sort of argument and stuff going on. And you could put that around Georgia. You could obviously put that around Florida State to get everyone clamoring for the 12-team playoff next year. Which I'll say, I don't want to dive into that whole thing tonight because we're doing the season review, but I will say off-season idea, John. I think I would like to have an episode where we just talk about the new format and like understand it and talk through how it's going to work because it's going to be super different. I feel like it's going to be wild. Um, I'm
I
not
like
sure that
it.
everyone totally understands how it works. So other than maybe a little off-season content idea.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. I would say that the future is bright at the University of Georgia. We're not
Yeah.
going anywhere by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, even with, I mean, we've got so many guys coming in through the portal. It's like, what, like, I keep asking Graham and Jason and Dustin and these questions, like, hey, where are we at with numbers? Because at one
Right.
point, we just, as of recording, we just missed out on Caleb Downs, which I know that everybody was like, I would have been super excited to have him, but like at that point, we're just talking about like, man, we're just the definition of first world problems, right? Oh man, we didn't
Yeah.
get that 5-star all world guy, but we got, you know, we stole the best running back, we stole the best offensive weapon that one of our rivals has. We took out former 4-star and former 4-star players left and right from multiple rivals in the SEC. We picked up a Lad McConkey replacement, right? We got
Yeah.
a new exciting white. Um,
Yep. Yep.
I mean, we've got multiple players that have come in, and it's just like I don't know. I mean, at some point we're gonna have to have some come to Jesus like talks about the numbers here because they just aren't adding up for next season. But as
Yeah.
far as like, the season review, like, I mean, we did about as well as I think that we could have done. I mean, it's just so unfortunate that it came down to there wasn't enough space in the top four for us, apparently. And it the definition of our season came down to effectively two plays, which is just super frustrating.
Yeah, and I do think like one thing that you were kind of worried about, I think came to fruition a bit but it didn't really come to a head until Atlanta, and that was the defensive line and like the defensive front. I think that was a spot preseason where you were kind of worried. We had been so used to we had had Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, and Devontae Wyatt, like all those guys for so long. Like there wasn't one of those guys on this team. We had a lot of veterans, and they led us to an undefeated, 12-0 season. But we couldn't. I guess you can, and we can argue whether it was the offense or the defense in Atlanta that quote cost the game. But to your point, it was 2, 3 plays. I would say there was an offensive play, a defensive play, and a special teams play. Like there's
Right.
probably one of each, right? You got the missed field goal, the fourth down conversion, which you could put on the refs, which should be, but whatever. And then the fumble. So it was kind of an all around thing there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the one of the big question marks for this team as they move forward is definitely going to be along the defensive line. That was the area that we got the most exposed. I feel like at the worst time of the season, we just couldn't get pressure, and that could also come down to, you know, it has to be said, we're talking about we just picked up some additional 5-star players technically on paper with the new 5-star ratings that came out.
Hmm.
Um, I think that on defense, we have like 5 of the 19 5-star players
It's
um,
crazy.
on the defensive side. So we've got talent for days along the defensive side of the ball, but um, that talent needs to come together in a much bigger way next year for sure. Particularly along the defensive line, which I feel like was, I mean, we talked about it pretty much all season long, the inability to get to the quarterback. And then um, I would say that the biggest exposure point for the Michigan what that Michigan kind of presented was maybe they just took Georgia's lead and did exactly what Georgia didn't do, which is just you have to basically blitz Milrow.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we sat back too much in that game. You can kind of put that at the feet of the coaches too. From I say two plays, but like we had a not great game plan on the defensive side, in my opinion. But
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
then on the offensive side, we had Mims go down, so um, that changed some of the play calling. I feel like changed some of the play. It changed our offenses for sure. So
Yeah.
I would say that as we move forward, I'll definitely be looking at the lines of scrimmage because they were clearly two impactful points at a very key moment.
Yeah. Agreed. Well,
But at the end of the day, like, you know, we we didn't perform when we needed to at the biggest moment, and we paid the price. And Michigan and other teams took advantage of that situation.
yeah.
Um, I was really surprised. I don't know how much more you want to beleaguer the season part of
No,
it for our side, but
I feel like we're good.
I mean, the the only thing I'll say on the season side of things, our review was, I mean, can we talk about the punter? Can we talk about can we talk about our punting statistics? Like that was just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I still feel like how it still feels like it wasn't talked about enough.
Mm-mm.
So
I mean, Thorson may go through his entire, I mean, he this was his first year, right?
no, 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 no. Because remember,
I'm
Stetson
blanking.
Bennett didn't like Australians either.
That's right. Okay. So like what changed?
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel I actually, so we should another offseason project, John. Like it feels like he punted even fewer times this year than last year. Am I wrong? Like, I don't know how many punts he had, but he didn't punt a lot. I'm gonna say I feel like it's the hang time to me is a difference. And I'm gonna give you a specific example to point to that. I mean, he remember Mississippi State had a punt return for a touchdown against him.
He
Like at the
punted he punted four less times this season.
four
So
less times. Okay, also
he
not
punted 36 times in 2022 and he punted 32 times last year,
okay.
this year.
Okay, so yeah.
He actually averaged less yards um this year than he did in the previous year. Um
So see, it's an accuracy thing, right? So like that does sound to me like it's more like hang time, right? He's getting it higher, and the guys are getting down there to force the fair catch instead of allowing them to return it. Because that was the thing with that Mississippi State punt return that we give it for a touchdown. He like low like line drived it far, but it got to the guy so fast that he returned it. He housed it on us.
Wait, hold on. This doesn't the math isn't mathing for me on this, Jim. I'm looking at his punting statistics. So his net punting was better this year than it was last year. So his net was
Okay.
42.6 this year, and his net last year was 41.4, whatever.
Okay.
So how can he average 43.8 and net 42.6 when he didn't give up a
There were no
return?
returns. Yeah, we have to investigate that. Were you looking at ESPN?
I'm just
What are you
looking at
looking
his.
at?
I just quickly looked because I'd forgotten that last season that he hated that Stetson hated Australians. I forgot about that.
Uh, yeah, man. I mean, you know, Thorson had a great year. Um, and our freshman place kicker had a great year. So, um, I mean, special teams were still did a good job. We had a punt return for a touchdown, uh, from Mr. Muse. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that would be the only other kind of item that I felt like we definitely needed to talk about.
With Thorson.
Yeah, with Thorson. Yeah, for sure.
I know, we got to get him on the pod, man.
I mean, that would be amazing. That would
What
be
did
so
he
amazing.
what did he do? There was some video that he released. Like it came from his Twitter account, and it was like a scene from a movie, and they had photoshopped his face on something.
Hmm.
Well, I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was either. I'd have to go back and look at his profile. I mean, geez, like we
This
should
is
have
great.
recorded sooner.
This is great podcast
This
content
is
right now.
great, great content. I'd have to go back and look. We could probably press pause and go back
No,
and
that's
look at
okay.
it.
That's okay. Those who know can just yell at their podcast player of choice because they know what it was. All right. Well, you want to? I was
Well,
saying, you want to?
we had a good pay season, a payday.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, payday. Yeah,
Yeah.
payday. We had a payday. You know, got to have the good nickname for the kickers. But yeah, man, that was that was something that we're like early in the season. Folks were kind of questioning him. Maybe he's a true freshman. Like we talked about in the Christmas episode. He was like a position player in high school. He had never just been a kicker. So this is the first season for him doing that in his career. So as another one, like excited to see him next year. We had a lot of young guys get some serious run this year. So looking forward to see their progression next year too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it at various points that we just had we do have a young team. I do have questions on, where people are going to slot in and how people are going to fill different roles. And we've had some guys enter the transfer portal. Um, yeah, I mean, we've got a lot returning. So,
Yeah.
we've got some bright spots ahead of us. I feel like that towards the end of the season, we started to figure out, some places that people probably should have been playing in, Michael Williams being an outside
Mhm.
linebacker,
Right.
just pin your ears back and go after the ball turned out to be pretty successful for us. Maybe we should keep doing it. Um,
Yeah.
Players that I'm gonna miss, obviously you're gonna miss Ladd, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Um, Javon Bullard is gonna be the biggest one. I really have a bone to pick with him next time I run into him. With the way that he played with my emotions.
I know. So many comments like on Instagram, like we running it back, like there was a lot of that going on. Him and Kamari, like back and forth. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
him and
guys.
Camarney. Yeah, just messing around. So anyway, it was a good season. I would say, like I said, looking back on it, like the schedule ended up being much better than we thought it was
That's
this
true.
season.
That's true.
Much tougher gauntlet towards the end for sure. But yeah, everything. I mean, Stetson Bennett's, brother got some
You
action
gotta
in the
catch.
in the in the game. You got to
Yeah.
catch, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. All
It was a
right.
good
Well,
season. It was a
it
good
was
season.
it was a good season. It was a fun season. We got to attend multiple games together. Um, that was fun. Man, we saw people, we saw listeners, we saw folks on campus and everything, hosted at tailgates again. Another great season. And like you
We got
said,
to,
man, we're not going anywhere.
We got Hasties Hargret history.
Yeah, Hasey's Hargret history. I keep forgetting that you didn't get to meet Chris last season. So you got your first game day experience with British Bulldog
Mhm.
this season. So I don't know, a lot of firsts. A lot of firsts.
This was I think the most games that I've been to in quite some time.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely since we've been doing the pod.
yeah, shout out to the Wood clan for the major assists there.
Hey, we had our first ever live podcast or whatever in-person podcast this
We
season.
did have the in-person podcast. That was fun. We were like, I don't know how to do this.
How do we do this? Where am I supposed to be talking to? Did I tell you that my mom was like, "Where were you guys sitting? How did you sit to have that bookcase behind you?"
Yeah,
Oh,
we reoriented the room.
too good. Too good. All right. Well, you want to hit the listener questions? I'm sure because that we can meander through some other we got some other season memories there, and then we can talk about whatever we want to.
Yeah, let's do
All right. First up, Chris Marler. Guys, let me know if you want me to come on and talk about December.
it.
Which I'll say is the way I replied to Chris and said, I don't know, man, that sounds kind of boring. So
I
TM, TM,
mean,
TM.
coming on and talking about December as long as we can talk about January.
Uh, yeah, so we'll put that to bed. Let's see, John Michael D. He said, "Remember that one time we went back to back? That's pretty cool." Jim Wood, and he said, "Me all the time now. Thanks for the year of work y'all gave us. It makes the highs higher and the lows more tolerable. Looking forward to the asterisk three-peat run it back next year." So agreed. It's only a matter of time, and the fact that the rumor was that. Yeah, I know like Harbaugh is interviewing in the NFL now with the Falcons among other teams. Um, but the rumor going around was that the reason he was getting hung up on like a contract renegotiation at Michigan because he was getting hung up on he wanted a clause in there that like basically they couldn't fire him if they get sanctions from the spying stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that the NCAA has the guts to do it, but I'd love it if they did. I think it's coming. We'll see.
I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, if nothing else, it just kind of showcases that he might be a little bit pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Dwight. Can you tell me why the combo of Morris Hall tailgate / walk down Lumpkin / rendezvous at J Huggies before entering Sanford is undefeated and is gaining momentum on all Athens to-do lists, please and thank you. Go Dogs.
Dude, I have to say the logistical situation of moving the tailgate from Reed Hall Plaza to the Morris Hall,
Mhm.
I feel like has a much better flow.
It does. I
It's a
was
more
super
it's a much natural progression down to the stadium as opposed to across the stadium.
right. I'm not gonna lie, like full disclosure to Rodeo and Greg. I was a little nervous before the season because I had never been over there and I wasn't sure. I was like, oh man, like, but we were so close to stadium. And then like the first time I did it, I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, it
Like
was a good
first
it's a good
game, we loved it. We're like, I think this is even better.
yeah. I like
So
it. I like it. It's like our own little corner of the world right there. Right there
also
at right there at the crosswalk.
right. And it it prevents us from having to do what you were so worried about, which was walk across the bridge.
Yeah,
Right.
dude.
So it took that out of the equation for our game day. Hey, we could even walk over to Logan's tailgate and not have to cross the bridge from there. That worked even. So
It's true. Yeah, a little bit of yeah, I would say that, yeah, if you were gonna try to go down to Logan's tailgate, it's pretty straightforward.
yeah. Yeah. So but yeah, I don't know, Dwight, other than just logistically, it's amazing. And the people that you are visiting between those locations are all elite. The hosts are elite, the patrons are elite. Couldn't ask for a better crew to tailgate with. So
Here,
just have to
here.
say
Thanks
cheers to that.
for thanks for bringing us along for the ride.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's see. One of those patrons, Bobby Wilson. Here's one for you guys. Why do you believe our dogs dropped from number one all the way to number six just by losing the SEC championship game by only 3 points for our first loss in 2 years? Um, okay. I did a little research, and this doesn't answer the question, but there was something that I had heard, and I wanted to figure out like what exactly the deal was. The statement had been made that no number one team in the penultimate CFP rankings had ever missed the playoff, had missed the Final Four um, until us this year, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to go and check So I heard that as fact, and it is a fact. Like that is true. Like so, I went back and I double checked. So I went back and I looked at like every single season. I looked at the last rankings before conference championship weekend, and then the final rankings. Um, the the downside of that is we are the only team to actually lose as number one, and we've done it twice. So I think one could argue we got the benefit of the doubt once in 2021, and they weren't going to give it to us again. You could make that argument. The flip side of that coin is if you reversed the teams and Alabama was undefeated and Georgia was 11-1 and we had beaten Alabama, there's no way Alabama gets left out. So I guess like I had thought maybe that we talked about this, but I felt like maybe Georgia had earned that benefit of the doubt, right? And I'm never gonna make such assumptions again. So I think that's the downside of all of this is man, like there's twice we haven't taken care of business in that game. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
we gotta figure something out with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But
Five
I mean,
spots on a 3-point loss though is a lot. And like it's nonsensical to say that, you know, Alabama is better than Florida State, but Georgia isn't. Like that was the other thing. Like if they had dropped us 4 spots and put us at 5 and at Florida State at 6, I think that would have sat better with people. Like that was almost like making it worse for Florida State, with the whole missing out thing. Like
mhm.
I don't get why they did that. Like that didn't make any sense. Like you can't tell me that I don't feel like you can make the argument that Texas and Alabama were better than Florida State, but Georgia wasn't. And we saw that in the field. So that was kind of silly. I
I
don't,
agree.
and no one's dropped that far out of 3-point loss. That is the crazy part. There was another team that dropped, but they had won. So there was a year where Ohio State was number one and they dropped to 2, but they had won. It was like someone else won a more impressive game or something. I can't remember when that was, but so
Hmm.
I don't know. That's what I got.
I like the theory there that we got the benefit of the doubt in 21, but didn't get it in 23. But
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. You got to take care of business.
Yeah.
The regular season and all those kinds of things mean things, and next season it's just a seeding thing. So
Yep. Yep. For sure. For sure. All right, let's see. Brett Belding, as usual, a two-parter. One, who are you looking forward to seeing at G Day? And then 2, with Florida sprinting into the offseason ahead of everyone else, will they be bowl eligible next year? Whew. We can start with the first one. Who are you looking forward to seeing at G Day, JP?
well, I have to. I don't know if we're gonna end up going, but my cop out answer is, well, it's not really a cop out because it's true. Everybody, I want to see the tailgate crew. Like
Mm,
that's like G Day is like we're getting ready for the season. We're ready to go. It's usually pretty nice weather, all those kinds of things. So that would be what I would be most looking forward to. I assume that he's asking for about what player. For me, that player is probably going to be Nate Frazier.
okay. Okay.
Because I hear the guys on the text thread and the Dog Central folks, and I'll give a shout out to Lamar at 100 Sanford. He has been preaching this kid for a long time that Nate is Nate the Great or whatever I think is what he's been calling him in the text thread. So it sounds like that he's the heir apparent.
Mm, okay. I like it. I'm gonna go Puglisi.
Mm.
Not that, I'm expecting him to play or anything, but just I'm curious to see what he looks like. And we don't have I guess it would kind of to go with that kind of like the battle for number 2, right? Because we're Brock Vandegrift gone to Kentucky. So how's that gonna look like? Excited to see Gunner and see Puglisi, see how they see them battle it out at G Day.
Nice. I'd say a close second for me would be Trevor Etienne. I want to see.
It's so, dude, it's so weird.
It's so weird. And
So
it's a
weird.
nice segue to the second part of this question.
Yeah. Oh, God, well done. All right. So will Florida be bowl eligible?
No.
Oh God, that's so great. Um, yeah, I don't think they will either.
They have the hardest schedule in the country next season, according to I saw it on Twitter. So
No, their schedule is nuts. I'm not. Yeah, it's horrible. I do think they have the hardest schedule in the SEC. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Yep. No, we agreed. We'll agree on that one. Um.
how
Oh, my.
amazing is it that they're under investigation right now for a player that ended up not enrolling?
Not even
They
there.
couldn't even they can't even cheat properly right now, guys.
Well, because it was the guy that like they basically like backed out
J-
of his NIL deal, right? Like they reneged his NIL offer, or the collective did.
Jaden Rashada. And I remember
Yeah.
when that went down, I feel like I remember texting the thread like there was some chatter on the thread that like, man, someone's gonna sue them.
Yeah. Well, and that collective doesn't even exist anymore.
Mhm.
Like they are I don't know what you say, out of business or whatever. They're gone. So they no longer
Disbanded.
operate. Yeah, disbanded. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for fixing my vocabulary. Oh, so yeah. That's crazy. All right,
FTMF.
FTMF. Amen. My dad wanted to know if we are going to record Wednesday. That was hey Jim, don't record a podcast on your anniversary. So I didn't. We didn't.
Amazing.
Well played, Dad. Well played. Let's see. Fletcher Proctor, which current football player would crush it Fred Gibson style with a cameo appearance on the basketball court? Starks, Allen, Dom, Delp. Where you were in that was we were, yeah. You were there when Fred Gibson
Oh yeah.
would get in the basketball games. Hey, he would shoot too many threes. That's my only complaint, Fred. But oh,
I feel
all
like
right.
you're better suited for this question.
I mean, I'm gonna stick to the receiver room, and I feel like Anthony Evans has to be good at basketball. I could be wrong,
Ooh, that's a good point.
and I'm gonna go with that because this may have been before you were in school, but before you got there, this is probably like your senior year of high school, I think. We had a basketball player named Anthony Evans, and he was like a power forward. He was one of those guys that were like he's like a big guy in college, but he was like 6'8", which is not like a big guy, quote unquote, in the NBA. He was awesome. We used to call him the Ant. So I'm gonna go with that.
Huh. Okay. I don't know, man. Um, golly, I mean, I'd have to say that if I have, I'd have to like pick the most athletic person on the team, right? Like, so who do you pick then? Like,
Right, right.
there's just so many athletes. I mean, from all of the hype that I've been hearing, like, it sounds like maybe I don't know. He's not even technically. I mean, I guess he's on campus. Ellis Robinson.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean,
Hey,
he's got to be like one of the most athletic kids on the team, right?
the only thing I would add is I would say don't sleep on the big guys. Like I know, like friend of the show, Big George, like George Foster could dunk back in the day. And I do remember our fraternity, not I was on this team, but like our fraternity intramural team ran into a team that had a bunch of the players on it, and like Marcus Stroud was just like dunking on everyone. So don't sleep on the big guys.
Is that formerly miserable in Minnesota was friend of the show Tim Riley
Oh, that's a
on
good
that
question.
team?
I'm pretty sure Ricky is the one who got dunked on by Marcus Stroud, not Tim. So I don't know. Tim, hit us up. You got to let us know if you were on the court for that.
For those that don't know, Tim is a large human being.
He's so tall, so tall. And this season, I hadn't seen his kids in a long time, and they are tall like he is now. Like, where did your kids get so tall?
Shocking. Shocking. Yeah.
Oh
I
my
don't know how old
gosh.
his son is, but his son was like taller than I am. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, yeah. Both his kids are taller than me. Holy cow. I guess while we're on this, we can't we can't not have a basketball minute for Fletcher. So the basketball team had the longest win streak since like the 40s. Their 10-game win streak. What was our nugget that John Smith had? The last time the last time Georgia basketball had that long of a winning streak, Auburn named their stadium after him, after the Georgia basketball coach.
That's right. That's right. I remember him saying that. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
did
what
not. I did not.
Shug Jordan was the Georgia basketball coach back then.
That's right. That was like a Hasties Hard Grit history nugget that John threw out there.
Yeah, yeah. So amazing run. Ended by Tennessee. But Georgia hung in, played
Man,
really
we
well
had
that
that one,
game.
didn't we?
Yeah, that one was tough. That was tough. But I will say the positive thing is we didn't let them beat us twice. And I feel like in that we went on the road and beat South Carolina in the next game. Teams of recent memory would not have done that. They would have gotten frustrated and would have given up another one, and then he had a losing streak. So
just based on the stats, it sounds like the teams of recent memory dating all the way back to would have not done this well.
True, exactly. But then unfortunately ran into I don't even know what we're calling him, the unicorn guy from Kentucky. So that was tough the other day. But yeah. But then it was, obviously tough win at Kentucky, but we drew the short end of the stick on having to play the unicorn in this first game.
Yeah, dude, that kid was so good. I saw the videos of that and I was like, oh my gosh. So Carter's basketball coach is a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he went to Wake Forest and played basketball, but he's and they named their team, the team that Carter plays on is the Wildcats. But I was messaging him before the game and I was like, hey, sounds like you guys are gonna kill us. This Croatian kid is all of a sudden available just in time for Georgia to come to town.
Yeah, I had been texting with Matt Moore about it. Because he texted me in the middle of the week. He was like, "Hey, I'm watching Kentucky tonight, and not looking good, for our chances." And I texted him Saturday morning when we found out he was eligible. I was like, "Ugh." So, and he lived up to his billing. So, I mean, Tennessee really good, Kentucky really good. I can live with that. Best start in a long time. I don't know that we can keep it up, but it's been impressive, and they're fun. Georgia basketball is fun to watch again. It's fun to tune in and sit and watch these guys. So they play hard.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Gene Fambro, what school would you most like to see Georgia schedule a home and home with in the future? I think we've talked about this before. I usually say either Michigan or Washington. Washington with the Huskies for the father-in-law angle, and they've got a cool stadium. I'll throw one more in there that I don't think I've said before. And this is shout out to Brett Belding, because I know he went to a Penn State whiteout game with Penn State and Auburn, and he said it was incredible. So I could go for going up there, having a night game at Penn State, and seeing the whiteout, the Dogs defeat them under that.
I'd like to see Georgia play Michigan in the Big House.
Yeah. I think that's a standard one.
That would be one. I think that Logan has posted pictures of BYU and the scenes from an atmosphere standpoint. I would say that probably going to a big game at at Ohio State. What do they call it? The Shoe or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Big House, going up there and beating up on some Big Ten teams would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Did you skip a question?
Did I? I did. Thank you. Man, I skipped 51 to 7 GATA. How could I do that? While they continue to work on Sanford Stadium this offseason, what is something y'all would like to see added to the stadium? He said, personally, I would like to see the scoreboard they have in Jacksonville brought to Athens. So it's a very wide scoreboard.
Yeah,
Uh,
the giant
they
scoreboard.
would fit nicely there on the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. You just touched on where I was gonna go. Like, I would love them to see I would love to see them add another bridge.
You want like a pedestrian bridge above the bridge so that you
Yes.
can still walk across.
Yeah, give me an express lane or something. Come on,
I
guys.
mean, what if they like made those gates be like half so you could still walk across and not go into the game?
I don't know. My working theory of that is that that entire bridge is going to eventually come crumbling down, and they're going to make that entire area like a part of the stadium. They're going to expand it. They're going to close
Yeah.
it in,
Ugh.
and you will get your giant jumbotron eventually. But it's all going to get completely encompassed at some point.
I've seen a rendering at some point where someone they did something like, what if you like basically like did the third deck all the way around, but then left like a window so you can still see campus or something like that. Someone
Nice.
did like a rendering of that once, which is kind of ridiculous, but
I
you're
mean,
probably right. It's probably coming.
they're gonna completely encompass everything.
Um, I was gonna
It's
say,
only a matter of time.
can we get like some better cell service or Wi-Fi? That's something I would like to see enhanced.
Yeah, I feel like didn't they make it better? Because I feel like that it was like a dead zone in there at one point. But
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
mean,
have that issue when I was there. But it was definitely a little slower
yeah. Yeah.
inside the stadium. Um, let's see. What are some things that I would want to add? I mean, the big scoreboard would be great. I remember, I feel like the scoreboard that's there is not like super old, right?
It's fairly new. It is
Yeah, because
fairly
I
new.
remember when they put it, I remember when they put it in, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's like that thing is huge.
Yeah, and now it's
Uh,
like, could barely see the replay.
my
Um,
I will say I do like I mean I like what they've done. I like the concourses are much bigger now.
yeah,
It's a lot easier where they have pushed back the gates. You know, there's room to walk around now. I mean, like when we were in college, it was crazy. Like getting to the stadium was a nightmare. It was totally nuts. There's like sardines walking, like even in the stadium. You don't have that
hmm
problem anymore. So I do like that. I mean, can we
yeah.
not? Mine are like silly little things. Like I said, cell service. Could we, and this is not even really the team because it's vendors that sign up a different thing, but like, can we not run out of Chick-fil-A by halftime? Like, I'm just saying, or like the middle of half,
I was
like,
just about to
can
say
Chick-fil-A last through like the third quarter, maybe?
better food options would be,
Yeah.
a nice thing. Like, not so much the hot dogs and peanuts and Chick-fil-A, what that's all great, but like maybe like like baseball stadiums, they have like, they're famous for different things. Like you can get Allman and Finch at the Braves game. You can get
Right.
Waffle House, or not that
Right.
I would want Waffle House, but I'm just saying like the better food options would probably be another good one. I would
Yeah.
also say that the fireworks that they have at some of the other stadiums that I've seen are pretty awesome too. Like maybe we can get some pyrotechnics to go with our light show.
I don't know if this is right, but this is like I read it on the internet, so it must be true. Like Tennessee is like on a river, for example. So I think it has something to do with the fact that we're landlocked.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure if that's right. We'll have to research that.
I mean, they do fireworks at Brave Stadium. There's no,
Yeah,
last I
but
checked, there's no,
I don't know if it's
there's
an
no,
SEC or NCAA thing. I don't know. I don't
oh, I
know.
see.
But like I said, you could have told that's a great way to disprove what I read on the internet because it's something I saw on Twitter. So I don't know. I don't know if that's right or not.
Fireworks would be nice.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Add yet another element to the light show.
Yeah.
That'd be it for that.
I mean, Ole Miss has like what the drone something or other that they do.
I mean, hey, we get enough. We actually have night games now, so you could do fireworks.
Yeah. It's true.
Hey, that's another thing we had this season. A million night games. I still can't believe that. That was crazy.
So many night games.
Like it got to the point where I was like, oh man, can we get a 3:30? Like this is kind of late. Uh, all right. Let's see. We mentioned Tim Riley. Um, please share each of your highlights and lowlights from the season for y'all personally. No Natty, but as always, go dogs. And actually, Chad Jarvis, similar, very similar. He said best moment, and worst memory. So the highs and the lows.
I'll let you go first.
Oh man, there were so many highs, I will say. Like so many highs. We've mentioned so many of them. Are we talking on the field or in general? Let's start there.
I would say the floor is yours.
I mean, so it was definitely like this season was the okay, this is cheesy, but it was the first season where one of my kids like actually showed interest in the team. So that was something that was new for me. It was pretty cool. Lily like wanting to actually go to games, and then we had our father-daughter bowl trip to the Orange Bowl. Um, so I couldn't get the whole family there. Kim didn't even get to go to. She didn't go to any games this
I
year.
was just about to say, I don't think Kim went to any
Yeah,
games
so
this year.
that stunk. But I will say a lot of that was prepping and college searching trips for Ella. And so Kim handled that and which enabled me to go. Which was amazing. So I'll go with that though.
It's a good wife.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that was that's your highlight. So is there a low light?
Um, I mean, okay, I don't want to steal your thunder. Do you want me to say what your low light is? Can I say it for you?
I guess.
This is what I've told you that I said this because all right, so we're gonna pivot a little bit. So it has to do with Nick Saban. So when Nick Saban
Oh yeah.
when Saban retired, I all right, you ready to go off the rails? I would where John, where were you when you found out? So the way I knew was because Will texted the thread. It was just like Saban exclamation point or something like that. I was playing Mega Man 2 on my on my retro gaming emulator. Paused Mega Man and was like, what? So I go on Twitter. I'm like, oh my gosh, things are going to the text thread. And I called my dad. My dad, my dad answered the phone. He didn't say hello. He picked up the phone and said, is it true? So then we proceeded to have the conversation. But before we hung up at one point, I told my dad, I said, you know what? I was like, John Powell is going to be so mad that Georgia didn't send Saban out on a loss into retirement. So to me, that was what I had picked ahead of time for your low.
That would not be my low,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it definitely is fair game. Like, dang it, golly, kind of Jim Harbaugh sent. It's kind of like Grayson Lambert sent Steve Spurrier. It's like such a it's such a what do you call it? Lackluster ending, anticlimactic. That's the word I'm looking for.
Hey, I did that
Um,
earlier.
This is so anticlimactic
Yeah.
to have a Big Ten team send him out. Um, yeah, that was
But yes, I
crazy.
mean, I guess
I don't remember what was that on a Saturday? What was the situation there? I don't even remember.
when Saban retired?
Yeah.
No, it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday or something. Like it was like
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it was like a weekday afternoon.
Remember what he was doing, to be honest.
So, but
Um,
yeah, I guess it's got to be the SEC championship. It's got to be the low.
the low for
And
me is watching Carson Beck fumble the ball to uh
yeah,
what was it, Dylan Bell?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that play.
watching Carson Beck fumble the ball to Dylan Bell was probably the low light for me. I was like, oh Jesus.
Well, and salt in the wound that Tresman Marshall recovered the fumble too.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't make it any better.
The fumble for sure. For me was the low light, but the highlight, I guess is like I don't know. It's an amalgamation of different things. But one one of my favorite memories from the season actually was at your house. So the morning after we beat Ole Miss, like I'll never get it out of my head. Like you came downstairs when we were watching I was in the living room and you came downstairs and you're like, God, we kicked their ass. That was amazing.
Oh man. Oh, that's
Like you were
hilarious.
all sleepy-eyed and hair is all cattywampus. Like you just, God, we kicked their ass and like in a raspy, like I'm super
Oh,
sleepy and tired and maybe sort of hungover.
oh man. Well, yeah, I was tired. The night ended at Little Italy, like all good nights in Athens. We
Exactly.
were up late.
Yeah, dude, we went out. We went out. We went downtown for forever.
Horrible idea. Horrible. Whose idea was that?
That was my idea for sure. It wasn't my idea to go to Flanagan's, but we did end up at Flanagan's.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
That
a good one.
was, I mean, that was super fun to hang out with you guys afterwards, Lutz and
Yeah.
Keeling,
Yeah,
and
it was fun.
it was like a throwback. It was like a throwback to a bygone era.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what like this season like the tailgates, the multiple games, getting to hang out, um tailgating with coach, tailgating with Brett, tailgating with all these people. It was it was fun. Okay, I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't mention a podcast first. We got to interview actual player, like current players on the team. That's something I never thought would happen.
Yeah, I definitely
So
didn't think that I would be interviewing people that were going to be first round draft picks playing on Sunday. Those kind of players for sure.
yeah. So I know this is an odd time to do it, but why don't we shout out the sponsor? So, Oxia Time made that possible. So thank you to Oxia Time. The Georgia collection, I didn't go back and double check. It was supposedly was getting pulled this month. So I don't know. Maybe it'll come back, or hey, maybe we just got to get back to the CFP in the future and see some more Oxia Time pieces for the Georgia Bulldogs. But shout out John Canaris at Oxia Time. Has been a great partner for the last 2 seasons presenting the podcast, and opened some doors for us. And I'm glad that we responded to the email when he reached out to us. So it's been a fun ride. Much appreciated. So
Allegedly he has some designs in the hopper for 24.
yeah, so get ready. Look out for that. So hey, they have Oxytime branded stuff as well. So head over there, oxytime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. I'll say they do custom watches. So like if you've got an organization, you could set that up, reach out to John. He would love to collaborate and get a watch set up for your club, your organization.
I
It
think
could
that
be,
he's done some
yeah.
high school watches for some state
Yeah.
champions.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks again, John and Oxy Time. It's been great. So, but yeah, had to mention that. Dude, I mean, like we talked about McConkey on his donkey with Lad. Oh man. Uh, and I botched a blind ranking with Tate and made Carter mad.
You botched the blind.
Too good. Too good. All right. I'm totally lost in our questions. Let's see. Where Boss Dog, in your opinions, which transfer comes in? It makes the biggest difference from day one. And with Brinson and Snackhouse coming back, do you think the front seven can create more havoc plays? I mean, I think it's Etienne. I mean, he may be the starting running back day one.
I don't know, man. The way that they've been talking about Nate Frazier,
Fair. True.
I'm waiting to see. Not to mention we've got some guys. We've got Branson Robinson who's been hurt. Um,
Yeah.
he was allegedly going to be the guy this year before he got hurt, right? And then you got golly, what's the other kid's name? The other Robinson, right? Rod Robinson.
Rod Robinson. Yeah. He looked
Yeah.
good. He looked good. He looked. I mean, he looked a lot better to me at the end of the season, which means shocking. He developed throughout the season, but he looks
Yeah,
like a different guy.
yeah, he looked good. As far as the transfers go, um, I would have to say that, yeah, I would say that, Etienne has got to be, up there, but you know, London Humphreys from
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, he's going to be a big body. From a pure ranking standpoint, um, he's the highest rated transfer. Is London Humphreys. He was rated as a 94,
Mm.
whereas Etienne was a 93, which I don't know what that means, but um, yeah, I would say that the either of those options would probably be good points. But then you've also got Colby Young, another big wide receiver. We got some big wide receivers.
Dude, Michael Jackson.
He's not a big wide receiver, but that's an amazing name.
Oh,
You can't beat it, that's for sure, Jim.
just wait. Just wait. I'm like so excited. When did you, I don't know if you saw Trey did a highlight video, like a highlight video for him, and he did like the Michael Jackson leg kick after a touchdown at USC this season. So like if he does that in the stadium, I'm gonna go nuts.
That's amazing.
Uh, let's see what. Oh, and then the second part. Do you think the front seven can create more havoc plays? Yeah, they need to. They need to. I think you hit on one of the things earlier with Michael shifting to outside linebacker. Hopefully that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, with him shifting to outside linebacker, plus we do have Justin Green coming in. He's a highly recruited defensive lineman from Lawrenceville. I've heard that he's going to be legit for sure. He is apparently one of the reasons why we didn't go harder at some of these defensive lineman transfers. You've got
Mhm.
another incoming freshman. I'm going to butcher his name, Jonah Ajane. Um,
I don't. We got to wait for the Scott Howard pronunciation. We'll get it eventually. I'll put it on the soundboard.
yeah, he's going to be an all name team for sure for us. But he actually would. I think he picked up a fifth star. He's one of those guys that picked up a fifth star
Mhm.
today as well. So we have a couple of guys coming in that are supposed to be dudes. And then we also picked up the South Carolina transfer, Xavier McLeod, who was a four-star recruit and was rated a four-star in the transfer portal. Big guy, 6'5", 284. Um, we've got some guys that are coming in to reinforce. And I think that there are some players that are out there. We got what was it? Christian Miller,
Yeah,
he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, which we kind of saw him come on. You've got the linebacking core is going to be more seasoned.
hmm
They had to kind of pick things up. We had a young front, and so we're going to have a lot of options there next season. So I'm hoping that they figure it out.
agreed. Agreed. Let's see, Rambo. How broke are we all going to be buying more Natty merch since Lord Saban is retired? Uh, I will give a shout out to I saw this from Dog Post today. And I didn't read the article, but I know like the headline was basically like they were asking around like other coaches, etc. And what is going to be the impact of Saban leaving? And one of the comments was, "Who is going to be in Georgia's way now?" I was like, "Oof,
Yeah, I mean it's true.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean the tweet that's been kind of making the rounds, which I think that Chris Marler was one of the ones that kind of brought this up, was like, Nick Saban is the only coach that has beaten Kirby Smart in what, 3 years?
yeah, yeah." I mean, not since
And then by
2020.
by extension, like the number of active coaches that have beaten Kirby Smart stands at zero.
Yeah. Since 2018 or something like that. So yeah, it's nuts, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's going to be an interesting run here for sure. We got a lot changing. The 12 team playoff is obviously going to it's going to throw a different type of strategery as you get to the end of the season that I'm going to be interested to see how people jockey for. But by and large, we talked about if you move to the 12 team playoff, it becomes the Georgia Alabama Invitational.
Right, right. And I don't know. That's what we're gonna find out, and I don't know, we may find out quick. And we're definitely seeing it with the recruits and all the transfers. I mean, the exodus from Alabama has been something. I mean, it's been like over and over, everyone into the portal. Um, but like in general, we're gonna find out, right? Like, was it Alabama or was it Nick Saban? So, um, like, where was that benefit of the doubt coming from? Where was all these things, right? Like the calls, the committee, the favor of the committee, all that, all the players wanted to go there. What was it? Was it Bama or was it Saban? Um,
Yeah, I don't know that this year is going to be the year to figure that out, but it's definitely going to be after this year type stuff. I
yeah.
mean, it definitely got accelerated more so than it normally would. Like, for example, you know, I mean, Mark Richt didn't exactly leave the cupboard completely bare.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
Kirby was able to bring in some of his guys, and you know, uh, Alabama has lost by and large what would have been the number six rated recruiting class of all of the players that have transferred out. They've that entirety of transfer portal activity would have been good enough to be number six in the recruiting rankings for this year.
I think that was another
So
Marler stat, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to Chris on that one. So I think that that is something that we've seen from Mark Richt from his years. What was it? Was it the 2013 class that was like the gaping hole?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a class that Mark Richt had that was really highly regarded that basically evaporated. And
Mhm.
then you saw that play out a couple of years later when we just didn't have the horses in the stables um, to
Yeah.
compete. And it's hard to replace that kind of talent. And I don't care how good of a coach you are. That is not something that comes easy.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
So, and not to mention the fact that you replaced him with a guy that has never coached in the South, has never recruited really competitively in the South.
He was their
Um,
first choice all along, John.
yeah, right. Um, yeah, dude. I don't know. I I'm just I'm hoping that things end so poorly and that they've Tennessee'd themselves.
It would be amazing. Um, and I think it's like I think Josh Pate, I think, had a video. He was talking about like that Bama fans, like if you're under 30 years old, like you're a trust fund Bama fan. Like you
Trust
don't
fund Bama
like
fan.
you don't know what bad things are like. Um, hope they get to find out.
Yes.
I remember what it was like when they had, man, I mean, shoot, like when we didn't lose them when I was in school. We beat them twice. Like, so once in a tight one and then we waxed them. So wouldn't mind
All
going
I
back to
can
those days.
say, all I can say is that I think George Foster said it best. Like that first meeting must have just been awful.
Yeah, seriously, man. Yeah, that's
That
crazy.
first meeting must have been awful. And what we're hearing about, the treatment of Julian Sayin, if the rumors that I've seen online about that meeting being only 5 minutes, if that's true, it just showcases how out of his depth this guy really is, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
You just don't treat kids that way in the South because that kind of stuff matriculates on the recruiting trail down here because it's all about relationships.
yep, for sure. Let's see. Rocket City Dog. We may have hit this. He said, who are the immediate impact players you guys suspect to see next season? So I think we mainly hit on that. Um, I'll give one guy that I know for you, John, that I know you're excited to see. He's not a new guy, but I know you're excited about Anthony Evans. So,
Yes.
definitely a guy that the podcast is eager to see him show up next year. So,
Yeah, we mentioned Ellis Robinson. I didn't mention KJ Bolden. He's another one.
yeah,
We've got some amazing secondary players. And then you've got Justin Williams, who is just as highly rated as Ellis. I think he's rated as a 99. We just have a number of guys that are, one of the top 10 players in the country, coming in. I think we have what, 4 kids in the top 24 coming in.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I Bolden is a good one. Like, can he come in and play right away like Starks did? That'd be pretty sweet. I think right there between him and Aguero, they're the reason why like Downs was always like a luxury item. Like he was not a need, you know. So
Yeah, Aguero was a guy that I was looking for this past season,
yeah,
and he didn't get to see the field.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. All right, Brian Michelis, no question. Just want to say thanks for the podcast. It's got me through lots of road trips, air travel, and yard work. Thanks for a great season. So thank you, Brian, for listening. And everyone, we really enjoy the interactions. We love the questions you guys send every week. We're all along this ride together. It's a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for listening.
All right, John, one more time this season and another off-season conversation. One more time for this song.
Oh my God! They're trying to put glasses on it.
My God, a freshman.
All right, Coach, send us one last over-unders. I don't know what are these being tracked? I don't know. No, I don't know. We'll see. Coach said it has been a privilege and honor doing the over-unders again. So for one last time, over/under Georgia Bulldogs drafted over/under 6.5.
Hold on, before we answer these questions, is this going towards the 2024 count, or is this?
I think these are going to get lost in the ether. That's what I think. I think these are just for fun. These are one-off standalone. These are like it's like a friendly. This is like
it's a friendly game. Oh man. Let's see. Drafted, I would say let's say over.
I'm gonna go over too, and maybe that's wishful thinking, but I'm gonna go over.
Yeah.
It's
a good one.
Over under bourbons consumed on Fripp, over under 10.5.
Push.
I'll say generally okay. Glasses of bourbon consumed on Fripp, over. Different bourbons, if we're talking like just the 4th of July trip, because I will say for us, we usually go there for spring break. We're not going for spring break this year because our spring break moved. We're doing Disney, which I know we've talked about. So I'm gonna say, but if it's variety of bourbons, it'll be under. We won't hit 11 bourbons, 11 different bourbons.
11 different bourbons. It sounds like a challenge. It sounds like a challenge.
I could make it happen. I control this one. So.
You have unopened bottles. It also doesn't count like the little airplane bottles, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, we still have an airplane bottle.
We still have to
we haven't opened.
We do have to do that. We have to do that.
But we also talked about we wanted it to be a celebratory.
That's true. Yeah. We'll have to find the right moment.
Yeah.
I know it pains you to not open something.
It has. I remember at one point I was like, oh, I really want to try this thing.
That's awesome. All right, over under Sorry Carter spring baseball batting average 350. Is he doing the baseball? I know he's doing basketball.
He is doing the baseball. Matter of fact, he has assessments this weekend. which he's been coached properly this time because he was coached before and he effed around and found out. Sorry, Carter. But he was told last year to not do well at the assessment so that he could get drafted by his buddies in the later round. He did the exact opposite of that
That's funny.
and ended up on a crappy team this past fall. So he's planning to throw his assessment, which will be interesting.
Dude, I almost just spit out my bourbon, and I'm glad I didn't because I don't want to get on my monitor. That was close. That was close. 350 is pretty high. That's hard to do.
No, 350 is definitely within the striking distance at this at his.
All right, then I'm going over because I have faith in Carter.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over.
Over under Georgia men's basketball wins 23.5.
23.5.
Man.
Where are they at right now, Jim? For the folks at home.
Oh man, yeah, you're putting me on the spot. Shoot.
Come on, man. You're supposed to.
Hey, I know they had, let's see, they had the 10-game win streak. They've won one since that, so that's 11. No, they're probably what, 14 and something, 5. Let's see how close I was.
They're 13-5.
Is that it?
Right? That's what ESPN. I'm on ESPN's website right now.
Yeah, so I got it right.
13-5.
Amazing.
How many more games are left? They would have to. This doesn't include the SEC tournament, I assume.
Yeah. You gotta factor in SEC tournament and then maybe postseason, which I'm not. They're currently on the outside looking in for like bracketology, but I mean, shoot, NIT would be, an improvement. So
I'm gonna go over.
screw it, over.
I'm gonna go over. I mean, I am sitting there like counting, and I'm like,
It's possible. The fact that it's even in the realm of possibility is incredible. Like, I'm ecstatic.
Do we really not think that they can find 7 wins? 7 wins plus? Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot. Well, yeah. So, all right. Georgia Spring Sport SEC Championships over under 2.5.
Ooh, spring sport SEC champions.
And like, I don't even know.
I don't even know.
We got new baseball coach. That's tough. But you got men's tennis and women's tennis are always in the hunt. So
Sure.
I think 2.5 is a good number because I'm in a good mood. And I'm just saying over on everything. I'm gonna say over.
Over. Them dogs as hell.
Love it. And then finally, Coach just said, "Thanks for the memories. Love you both, Coach. Love you too, brother. Great season. Happy to have the over-unders. Another off-season topic with that music staying with CBS and moving to the Big Ten. We're gonna have to make a decision. We'll leave it up to you, Coach.
What do we do?
If he still wants the same intro music, so we'll see.
He's keeping the same handle, even though Belichick got let go, right?
Yeah, Coach, man. Yeah, we gotta find that out. If Bill Belichick gets hired by the Falcons, are you gonna still be Coach Trillbill? Coach, is he gonna have a Falcons hat on backwards in the profile picture?
He'll probably be like Coach Trillbill Ho or something like that.
Amazing. All right. Shout out, Coach. Thank you again for coming along for this ride and doing the over-unders. Been a blast.
Fun times as always.
Well, season's over. We move into the off season. We came up with some off-season content ideas during this show. So we'll try to do those.
I definitely need a Jim Wood deep dive into what the CFP is going to look like next year.
I feel like that would be fun. Okay, I'm glad that you like that idea because I've been thinking about that for
because
a while.
I don't understand it, but you seem to have more details than I do.
I feel like I need to look at it. I want to look at it some more too myself. So I think that'll be fun. Be fun.
My favorite thing that you've said recently was like that next year, while it's a bigger field, there's no longer that month gap where Kirby Smart has a month to prepare for someone. So
Right.
that is an interesting tidbit of information that I was not previously privy to. So
Right. Yeah, it starts sooner. So the game is changing. uh the
so much
NCAA
so that we had to let Nick Saban go.
Oh man. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I mean, he was like all this NIL and transfer portal, I'm out.
He's like, I'm out.
For you guys, I'm going home. uh I honestly feel like that's part of it, but we'll see.
I agree. It's also going to be part of the reason why Kirby ends up hanging it up, I'm sure. And he's not going to be alone.
We just need Kirby to stay long enough until he turns it over to Andrew.
Nice. I like it.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we'll have a regular cadence. The plan is to record more often this off season than we did last.
It is?
I
Who
had
are you and what have you done with Jim?
I'm just saying, right? I had some stuff come up and I was like MIA for months. So that was on me. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see if we can stick to that.
I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on that one.
Hey, just text me.
Coach Trill, over under number of episodes in the off season. I'm setting the line at 3.5.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like it.
All right,
All right,
man.
man.
It's good to catch up.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you, dear listener, have already listened to all of your feelings episodes and end of season episodes. So we're hopefully kept catching you as the last one for Georgia podcast. But thanks for coming along with the ride. We really appreciate it, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.